Good evening and welcome to the Celtic Way breaking news live, as we say, or post-match reaction. Celtic 1, Lazio 2. Ryan, we both texted the same word at the same time. Gutted by that. Celtic going ahead through Kyogo Furuhashi's first goal in the Champions League group stage proper. And a fine goal it was too. But Lazio equalising and then scoring a 96-minute winner, Ryan. What goes around comes around. That must have been how Motherwell fans felt on Saturday for Celtic. So if Scottish football fans think there's karma there, then I guess they can revel in that kind of thing. But absolutely gut-wrencher for Celtic. And after match day 2, they're bottom of the group with no points. But it just seems to be the same old things that plague them, isn't it? The same mistakes at that level that they make, and conceding bread and butter goals, one from a set piece and then an uncharacteristic mistake from the normally reliable Cameron Carter-Vickers. But for lots of spells in that game, they were the better team. Lazio could have been reduced to 10 men with a man's kind of elbow or handoff on Hatate's face, and Lewis Palmer being robbed of a Dream Champions League winner by Daisen Maeda's shin and VAR intervening. What do you say to it all, Ryan?
Do you know, I've gathered my thoughts over the past, when did the game finish? About nearly an hour ago. So
yeah,
you gather your thoughts being in the game or being round about the ground after it. You know, there is obviously that disappointment. There would have been disappointment coming onto this stream if Celtic had drawn the game, to be perfectly honest with you. Just due to the way that Celtic played the majority of the game. They were... I'll be interested to see the possession stats. They might be closer than what I think, but it seemed as if all the meaningful possession in the game was with Celtic. You know, they were making things happen, particularly in that second half. I thought there was a lot of better performances in the second half. Yes, they get the goal in the first, but I thought Matt O'Reilly did step onto it in the second half and put in a better performance. But, you know, I'm not going to put too much blame at the door of Cameron Carter-Vickers. He's had a combined, must have been about 4 or 5 games of the season so far. I think he's got enough credit in the bank to let him away with this mistake. It's one of those ones where you've got to learn in Europe. Sometimes Rosie is the best place for a ball to go. Not every ball has to be eye of the needle. You don't have to beat 2 men. Just put it in. Just put it into the stands. You know, especially at 1 each. 1 each, we'd be disappointed. Celtic fans would be disappointed with 1 each because of the Lewis Palmer goal, which was a tremendous goal, and I think everybody celebrated that for minutes, only for it to be cruelly taken away. Looks as if it's the right decision. If that's the case, then I can't have any qualms. They're obviously going to take as long as they can with these decisions due to the incident that happened in the Tottenham Liverpool game at the weekend. They're going to have to take their time. As long as they get to the right decision, then I have no qualms with the decision. Disappointed. You know, there was plenty of positives from the game, but at the end of the day, it's the same old story, unfortunately. Celtic are bottom of the group, no points, and it's looking very, very unlikely that they're going to qualify from this group now. We called it a must-win before the match. It was a must-not get beat, especially the way the first game went. Yeah, it's looking like a tall order now for the last 16 of the Champions League. I think they've got to be competing for the Europa League, and even then, that's looking like a tall order with 2 games against Atletico Madrid to come up. But it's a disappointing one. Positives to take, but at the end of the day, it's a very, very disappointing result again, and a disappointing evening. To what was a good performance for large spells, but you've got to play for the 90 minutes, and Celtic didn't play for the 90 minutes. They get caught because of that.
Yep. Fed up with plaudits. Points we want, Ryan, isn't it? Just the manager said that he was proud of the players and they deserved something, they merited something. They did merit something, and probably didn't get what they deserved. But, you know, you're fed up hearing it, aren't you? It seems to be on repeat, doesn't it, with Celtic in the Champions League, you know?
I've got to be honest, I don't think they deserved anything from the game because they didn't play for the 96 minutes, unfortunately. And these are the breaks that happen in games. You can feel hard done by the fact that it was a 96-minute winner, which was a stunning header from Pedro, who we were talking about earlier on today as well. You know, I was amazed to see he was still playing. It was a very Cavani-esque header from
Yeah. Well,
Pedro.
that's
But
exactly what it reminded me of. Yeah.
it's one of those goals, and it seems like every goal in Europe, Celtic concede. They take an age to go in the back of the net. It seems as if they take about 10 minutes to trickle their way over the line, unless they're a screamer, and, you know, they've been hit like a thunderbolt or a firecracker. But it just feels as if those goals, they're inevitable. It's death by a thousand cuts, unfortunately. You're just waiting for it to roll into the net. It's very unfortunate, but I can't feel hard done by, because Celtic didn't play for the 96 minutes, unfortunately, and they get cut out by a team that did. They stuck in about the game. They got a bit of luck with the disallowed goal, and they went up the park and scored. They capitalised on an error from Carter Vickers, and that was the difference in the game, unfortunately. It's hard lines, but that's Champions League football.
Yeah, that's what teams at that level do, Ryan. Uncharacteristic mistake from Cameron Carter-Vickers, but they certainly took full advantage of it. Brendan Rodgers spoke about its game management at that point in time, and he's totally right about that. You know, the performance was decent enough. Did it merit a win? Probably not, as you say. They had some good moments, but just seemed to concede bread and butter goals from set pieces, Ryan. You know, Neil Lennon in the studio, TNT studio, said that Scales and Matt O'Reilly didn't deal with it with the two headers, and it just seemed a very poor concession of an equaliser 17 minutes after you've taken the lead with a wonderful bit of football.
Yeah, and I've not even watched the first goal back yet, to be perfectly honest, so I'm only going through
Brilliant
memory.
bit of
But
football.
it was phenomenal. It was dynamic. It was liquid football. That's what I tweeted out saying. It felt dynamic. It felt like an Ange goal as well, like an Ange ball goal. The speed of it happening. It was. But then again, Rodgers played that in his first season as well. It was some dynamic football in Rodgers' first season as well, and in some cases in the second and third too. But you know, it was just. It felt as if the momentum, and we spoke about it before the game, they brought the momentum to the game and they started well. Yes, there was a point at the start of the game where I thought Greg Taylor, who was disappointing on the night, I've got to say, totally misjudged the flight of a ball, and I thought he was going to get beaten by his opposite attacker. That get dealt with, fortunately. And then that goal, you know, the crowd erupted. It was... People around me were going, wow, you know, it's an absolutely tremendous finish. Everybody knew that Kyogo was going to score that goal when he went 1-on-1.
Yeah,
you know, it was not unlike Tony Watt's goal against Barcelona, where it felt as if he was 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper, and then he just slotted it away as cool as you like. If anything, if there's one positive to take from the game, at least Kyogo's off his duck in the Champions League, because, you know, he's a far better player than his record suggests in the Champions League.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to take any positive and consolation from the game, even though there is hardly any, unfortunately, down to the result or due to the result, then it's Kyogo's finish. And it was a great goal. You know, Maeda does well for it as well. Unfortunate that it's his body part that costs Luis Palma in the second half. But he did well for the first goal. It was just a great goal all in. But yeah, set pieces, you know, it doesn't matter who you're playing against, whether it be Motherwell, whether it be Rangers, whether it be Lazio, Barcelona, whoever it is, you've got to defend your set pieces. You've got to control the controllables. Unfortunately, Celtic didn't control it. They get beat, and that was the problem.
193 people joining us, Ryan. As we speak, just short of 200 people. So thanks, guys. Thanks for that. I'll flick up some comments. Lewis Grant, haven't felt like that since the Copenhagen game. Absolutely gutting. Alan Robertson, gutted. Just trying to get some more personal Jesus saying referee was atrocious. Celtic have too many players who just aren't Champions League quality. Matt O'Reilly won't be here next season. He or she reckons. Alan Robertson saying was like Partizan Belgrade all over again. Last minute heartbreak.
Was that when Shepovic's dad scored?
Yes, that's when Shepovic's dad scored. Yep, I was there that night in the jungle. That was, yeah. How much more does Celtic have to take? Sick to the back teeth of these nights. Yep, this deja vu. We're just saying it just seems to be on a repeat. And then Lewis Grant saying he's disagreeing. He thought Celtic were good tonight. A refereeing decision in the first half cost them all 3 points. He's talking about how chatty
I've got to say they were good, but they weren't good for the 96 minutes that were played.
Yes.
And you've got to play 96 minutes. That's the difference. You're going to get punished at this level, much like how Motherwell get punished in the Scottish Premiership. It's just it's what happens when you make that level up from the Premiership into the Champions League. It's stark. you're going to get Celtic might have not get they wouldn't have get punished like that in the league. I know they conceded a 95th minute goal to Motherwell, but that sort of goal doesn't get punished in the Scottish League. It does in the Champions League, and that's just the difference, unfortunately.
Totally. And every year the Celtic say the same thing, they need to learn, but sadly it doesn't seem to be. Crab's saying really starting to think that it will never change for Celtic in Europe. There is that kind of feeling of deja vu about it all. Lewis Grant coming back in saying Celtic are cursed, and James Fadian saying referee was shocking the challenge and Hatate should have been a red, as it was with force and an intent, and it would be assault in the street. It was a bad handoff, to be fair. I mean, it looked like a. John Hartson actually said he thought it was a punch, like that. It caught him full in the face. Alan Robertson asking, was the decision to put Cameron Carter-Vickers on the right call? And Les D16 saying, deserved the result from that game. Decision from officials were questionable. He said the least. She's gutted. Alan Robertson back in. Positive. Palma and Bernardo coming off the bench and making a good contribution.
They were involved, yes.
It's a question. Yeah, they were involved. Yep.
I like the cut of Palma of Bernardo's jib rather. I think there's something there definitely to work with. There's something there with every player, even although I know he didn't have a great game tonight as well. But I do think there are elements of Yang. Yes, Yang is a very much a development player. That is very, very clear. Yeah. And maybe he shouldn't have started tonight. Maybe that's down to Palma not being 100% yet to play those 90 minutes.
Also thought Hatate just didn't cover himself in glory again. I thought his touch and his distribution was absolutely awful, if I've got to be honest. I don't like having a go at players, but he get caught in possession. His first touch, ball drifted away from him. Lots of times he was sloppy in possession, I have to say.
An on-form Hatate and Celtic win that game, I think. Yep. I think there's so many variables in the game. Yes, you've got to concede corners better. You've got to concede those last-minute chances better. At Celtic, it's all about chance creation as well in the game. And with a fit and firing Hatate, the passes were either they were either too softly hit or too hardly hit. And yes, it's not down to a lack of trying, much like the Feyenoord game. The sweat was dripping off, and there's about 5 minutes before the end of the first half. The people around me, including myself, were saying he might need to go off at half time because he looks absolutely shattered. He looked done in. You could see it in his head. His head was hanging. He looked absolutely shattered. I don't know what that's down to. Is he trying too hard in games? Is he trying to make up too many yards? It's a difficult one. Maybe he's got to watch where he's playing and choose his battles very carefully, especially in Europe, because he did tire last season as well in Europe as well. He had really good sort of 45, 50 minutes, and then he would tire in games. We've got to nurse him back to full fitness because he's so important to this midfield. Same for O'Reilly too. You know, Matt O'Reilly, it was more was coming off for him in the second half. But when those two are firing on all cylinders, Celtic are a match for anybody, especially that midfield, especially with how good Callum McGregor was tonight. I thought he was immense again tonight. He really stood up and was counted for. He was doing the job of a couple of players in that midfield, and we've said the opposite about him this season. Well, I thought he stood up and he was counted for.
Certainly doing a job for Hatate as well. Jai comes in, absolute heartbreak. Paul McCann, ref was pretty poor. Hazel Finn, 2 matches in, and the referees have been awful. Lots of people having a pop at the ref, Ryan. So, I
think the referee was bad to a point, but at the end of the day, at the same time, I think it's excuses, and Celtic have got to control the controllables in the game. It's not as if they shot them. I mean, with the referee, it's not as if they got a man sent off or anything like that, and you could be annoyed with a decision. It was all their own doing. It was their own mistakes that caused this downfall.
Celtic were the architects of their own architects of their downfall. Nadine Fisher Scales is the man right now. David Kerr, Celtic need to aim for third place now. Hazel Finn come back and saying, loving Palmer, he has clean, snappy shots. He should be allowed to take free kicks. I know we did say that. We said it was a must-win game this morning, Ryan. Certainly wasn't a mustn't lose, but the nature of the loss is just what everybody's finding hard to take. But 2 games in, bottom of the group with no points. Atletico on 4. Lazio on 4, Feyenoord on 3, Celtic on 0. Frank Donnelly, you have to win your home game, something Celtic can't seem to do. Yep.
Weight goes on.
Jake Creaney goes on. Gutted. Celtic didn't deserve to lose that, but it's the same old story. It's the same old story. And Stuart Craig coming in. If Celtic make a mistake, it's in the net. Celtic never seem to get away with anything. It seems to be the case, doesn't it? And David Cassidy coming in. Celtic played so well. Just those small mistakes cost them. But no doubt the two centre-halves should be proud of themselves. Positive. Liam Scales has proved, the two halves, Celtic should be proud of themselves. Positive. Liam Scales has proved he's good enough to play in the first team. What did you think of Liam Scales? Thought he was excellent, certainly defensively, but there was a couple of times he's passing, he put his teammates under pressure, caused his own problems, so I just need him to sharpen up with that, because you don't get away with it at this level, as Cameron Carter-Vickers found out, to his cost.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of mistakes here and there, but I thought what set the tone of the game for Liam Scales with that big tackle, just on
the bone cruncher,
yeah. He was channeling his inner Jozo Simonovic for that one, I think, on Gary Miller. It was very, very alike, and the crowd absolutely loved it. And
I was going to say, get a great cheer, and I think Rory Hamilton in the commentary box said it was a welcome to Glasgow challenge, which I thought was quite good. If Felipe did it on, didn't he? Felipe Anderson, was it?
Felipe Anderson. He used to play for West Ham, I believe.
Yeah, it was Felipe Anderson that he challenged, and but over 261 people joining us, Ryan. Thanks, guys. We know you're desperate to have your say. I'm trying to flick up as many comments as possible. Just another bitterly disappointing night for Celtic. The manager, Brendan Rodgers, said he couldn't fault the players for their effort and their commitment. But like you, Ryan, you've got to go. You've got to see it out. You have to take a point there, which would have been disappointing in itself. But to lose that, it's criminal almost, and it's unforgivable. It's just those kind of mistakes come back to bite you and will be the difference in the group, and they end up with the group table is finalised. That could come back to bite Celtic big time. Not having a go at Cameron Carter-Vickers, it's just a kind of general thing with Celtic. It just always seems to happen to them, doesn't it? That their mistakes get punished, and they never get any respite or a break in Europe in terms of that. And I wouldn't say they were robbed of a winner. VAR showed that he was offside. Maeda touched it, and Palmer was in an offside position. So, they go for you, they go against you. This one went against Celtic, but I agree with Marcus's comment here that Lazio were definitely there for the taking and Celtic blew it. Most definitely. Agree with that completely.
Yeah, they're definitely one of the poorer Italian sides I've seen at Celtic Park in all my years of going. We've seen AC Milan come to town, Juventus were probably the most impressive one, that one in 2013 under Antonio Conte. That was systematic destruction. It was 2-0 or 3-0. It felt like a 5 or 6. It was a mentally destroying performance. That was the one that Effie Ambrose got rushed back. I remember, we've managed to mention Effie Ambrose twice today, which is some going. But Lazio, I don't think they're as good a team as what we played 4 years ago, to be perfectly honest with you.
I don't think so
I don't think they had much in their game. They've got good individual players. Pedro was obviously part of the best ever Barcelona team. Felipe Anderson's a good individual player at times. Ciro Immobile, best Italian striker of his generation, you could say. But didn't really look like much of a team performance. Yes, they had a couple of nice passages of play, but any of the nice football that was getting played at Celtic Park tonight was through Celtic, through down the...
Yeah. The Jerry Smith coming in, fine margins in Europe, he's saying, but we just seem to have this conversation all the time, don't we, Ryan? Nope. You're back in the room.
Sorry about that. Where was I? Sorry.
I just flicked up a comment there from a guy called Jerry Smith who said it's fine margins in Europe. It is fine margins, but Celtic always seem to be on the wrong end of those fine margins, don't they?
Yeah, that's it's these. They've got to learn in Europe. They've got to learn. It just seems as if they're saying the same cut and paste thing every single year. Are they not learning their lessons? Is that maybe a question for the board about the sufficient about backing the manager? I don't really want to go down the transfer road again because, I feel like we could talk about that every time Celtic don't win a game or they don't win a game in Europe. it's an easy excuse because you've got once you pass that white line onto the park, it's the players. They've got to do their job. They've got their the wages that Matt O'Reilly and Rio Tati, Cal McGregor, Kyogo. I'm not gonna slate Kyogo whatsoever tonight because he scored his only chance in the game. He tried to flick a really audacious chance, not the most audacious chance in the game. I'll have you know, because Liam Scales was trying to do something absolutely spectacular in the second half. Was it the second half? Yeah,
it's the second half.
Bicycle kick, which was absolutely.
I
probably would have walked out the stadium if that was the case. I've seen everything in football if he was to manage that.
The game at Celtic Park. Blake Owen, same old story, genuinely gutted, but it's nothing new, exactly. I think most people are. And Mark McQueen saying when Celtic went 1-up, it was their own fault for letting them back into the game. It was like Celtic v Celtic at times. I just felt that Lazio came for a draw, Ryan, and ended up waltzing away with 3 surprise points. They had what they came for after they equalised.
They were delighted at the end of the game.
Won the intent on forcing the issue. Didn't force the issue. And the only time they did force the issue was they took advantage of that Cameron Carter-Vickers slip because they were slick and they were quick, and that's what they do. It was a bump, and all of a sudden, your point had disappeared, and just that crushing feeling that you get that it's just Celtic all over, isn't it, in Europe?
I've got to say, I think a draw would have felt like a defeat tonight as well. But it really does compound it as well, just due to the way that Celtic conceded the goal. The fact that Celtic were the only team that were pushing up until the very end when the mistake happened from Carter-Vickers. It was Celtic that were trying to make things happen up front. I think you really did see the limitations, unfortunately, when Kyogo was taken off. I don't know if he was completely done physically, but you see when you're chasing a winner, when you've got a winner and then it's taken... When Celtic got the winner and it was taken away from them, I don't understand why Kyogo was taken off, unless I'm getting my timings wrong and Kyogo was taken off before that Palma goal. I just think you've got to keep Kyogo in the park. I think there's I don't want to rule O out too much because I've been impressed in the small things that he's done so far, and he's got a really difficult job playing second fiddle to Kyogo at the moment. But there is a drop in quality when you take Kyogo off and you bring O on. I think if you're bringing O on, you've got to keep the two of them on the park. And even though you don't like it, play Kyogo as that number 10 role and maybe drop O'Reilly deeper or take Hatate off and push McGregor up further. I thought it maybe could have been a game in the first half as well. I was, when Celtic went a goal up and then Lazio scored to make it one each, the game looked very, very open. There was a lot of times when Lazio had the ball and they were just running into space. It was almost as if who's defending here? Who's doing the defending in the midfield before it gets to the defence? It was like maybe this game is crying out for Iwata to come on and put out those fires before they get to Scales and Phillips. I'm not going to say... Now, they could have brought Iwata on towards the end, but Celtic were going for the winner. They had the winner through Palma. It was taken away from them. They were going for the winner again. It's one of those decisions that maybe would have got a collective groan from the Celtic support, but it's easy to look back in these things with hindsight, unfortunately.
Yeah. Jerry Smith saying definitely need another striker. I'm on board with that as well. Granite Boy saying let's take encouragement for the next 4 games, 2 at home. Gutted, but it's not over. It's not over, you're right, but it just there certainly feels an air of gloom and despondency about it, doesn't it, Ryan? Hazel Finn, no consistency with the team. Players always changing. It doesn't help you build a European team. Hope Brendan Rodgers does hold on to his players and builds for next year. League is Celtic's priority, to be honest. League's always Celtic's priority, to be fair, Hazel. Baz coming in, thought Celtic played well tonight. Lack of concentration at the end cost them dearly. And although the left back lack of depth really showed tonight, the board should have strengthened that position. As you say, we don't particularly want to go over old ground again, but there was kind of glaring errors there. Francis PC Green wants to talk about Matt O'Reilly's pass to Kyogo, which he says was absolutely beautiful first time ball, but it was a brilliant goal. You'll see it again. You've only seen it once in real time, but you'll see it again. It's a clinical goal. It's absolutely brilliant. Mida just drifts in, give it to O'Reilly, vision, see the game in pictures as we speak about a lot, Ryan, and Kyogo does what he does best when you put him 1-on-1.
I was worried it was going to be Matt O'Reilly with the assist. and there's me sort of talking about him, about how he could be better. You know, I did sort of cover myself in that regard when I was doing the instant analysis point by saying, you know, in the game, he could have been maybe doing a wee bit more. It's not for a lack of trying from Matt Riley, and you know that the talent's there. It's just maybe it didn't all come off for him tonight. It's the same for Hatate. These players can make such a big difference in these fine margins. You know, it's fine margins with players as well, with in terms of maybe strength and depth in a position at left back. If you've got somebody that can bomb down that left hand side, Taylor can't really do that. He's more of a possession based player. He'll play passes into the middle. Yeah, he's absolutely fine with that. He can put in a good cross, as we've seen against Motherwell, but he's not that athletic. Johnson is athletic, and you can see that. He gives that out ball. I just think Johnson's a bit of a step up. I would quite like Taylor to be in that. And I don't want to slate him too much because he's been really good the past couple of games. But you just see the difference in Europe, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think he's a great player to have in and around the squad. Brendan Rodgers clearly likes him. Ange Postecoglou certainly liked him. Neil Lennon liked him before. So he's a popular guy. But I just think for Europe, there needs to be a strength. There needs to be further strengthening there. There needs to be a standout in left back. Now, I'm not saying that it has to be Kieran Tierney or someone like that. It can't be Kieran Tierney because he's out for 3 months and he's out on loan as well. But there needs to be that strength. There needs to be that athleticism at left back as well as right back. Otherwise, it looks lopsided, unfortunately.
Taylor was targeted as a certain weak link, and lots of the problems were stemming from his side, weren't they? With the long diagonals, yeah.
The goalkeeper was instructed to do that.
Yeah. I wanted to flick this comment up from Danny, who said Tony's had a few beers and he's wondering why Ryan is wearing a bin liner. Just to address a wee issue there, Danny, Tony is teetotal and has been for years. And so there you go. And Ryan's sporting a natty jacket, so it's certainly not a bin liner. But just thought we'd address her, you know, because we like to give people their say, Ryan, but if they're going to come on and be scurrilous about it, then we have to address that. But yeah, Tony doesn't drink, Danny. Sorry to disappoint you, but there you go. And I'm sure that's a wonderful designer jacket you have on there, Ryan, no doubt, because you like your clobber. I'm very aware of that. But yes, on the subject of Taylor, Stephen Ray comes in. Taylor is a weak link, he's saying.
At this level, yes.
Yeah, he was certainly... I can't fault what Taylor produced domestically under Ange. He was very comfortable and he came right onto a game, and then he started the season particularly poorly by that high bar that he'd set himself. But certainly tonight, I think his deficiencies were certainly laid bare, weren't they, by a team who, you know, were happy enough to just sort of, you know, get their point and get out of dodge, and then lo and behold, they won all three at the death by capitalising on your mistakes. But they definitely targeted Taylor as a potential weak link in the Celtic team and constantly bombarded them with those diagonals, didn't they? And were getting joy from it as well, weren't they?
Yeah, I just think it's lopsided with the left and the right back at this point, unfortunately. Even though Johnson made a couple of mistakes in the game as well, but I just think we talk about that eye test quite a lot in football. Now, Johnson, you feel safe with Johnson on the ball, or you feel safe when Johnson is defending against somebody because you know he's going to go into a tackle or try and make an interception or something like that. He's just he's an athlete, and I think you need athletes in Europe that are going to put in the hard yards. That's not to say that Taylor isn't putting in the hard yards. It's just players do it with precision, and Johnson seems to do that.
And he's also even the way that he's also got some physicality, Johnson, as well.
Yeah,
allied to that athleticism. You know, that's what I like about Johnson too. And I think Celtic at times sometimes lack that, but a physicality in that position certainly in the left back area, and that's no slight on Taylor. You know, it is what it is.
The thing is, at left back, you don't necessarily need a quick left back because you want the wingers to do that. You want the wingers to be providing the out ball.
Yeah.
Yes, they can overlap and put the ball into the box, but they don't need to be absolutely quick. Look at Mikael Lustig. Look at how good he was for Celtic up until like about a year or two before he retired. You know, Father Time catches up with every single player. He wasn't necessarily quick, but he was imposing. He was powerful. He was physical when he could get a ball into the box. I just think Celtic do need a stronger left back going forward in terms of the physical side of the game. Otherwise, and I think that's a big a big worry. The fact that Lazio were continually going down that route of trying to exploit that weak link, and it didn't always come off them. Greg Taylor, there was a couple of points where he did get the better of his man, but the fact that they were continually going down that side and looking for joy down that side indicates that there's a weakness there. Their scouts and analysts have identified a weakness. Not all of that is Taylor's fault, unfortunately. There's things he can't help. He can't help what height he is. He can't help how imposing he is or his physicality. But the club can help that by putting in a stronger left back in that position. I just feel like it was a position that was neglected. It would be even worse, by the way, under Alexandro Bernabe, because he's smaller than Taylor. He's not even registered for the. If you're gonna put any blame on a single left back tonight, well, apart from Taylor's performance, it'd be the fact that Bernabe isn't even quoted for the Champions League squad. Now, for Celtic to spend 3.75 million on a defender and him not even quoted in the Champions League quota, or the squad rather, it's a sad indictment of the scouting in that position, and it's something that needs to get alleviated. I think January at the very earliest.
I'm sure the manager will be all over it, to be fair. Francis PC Green, Taylor going forward is always available, but in Europe he's found out. I just
couple
thought
of times as well. I just remembered.
Yeah.
I remembered that he was caught out, and I don't know if he was trying to cover for the centre backs at some point, but he was too central. Whereas that cutting ball was coming, and there was nobody marking the winger. I don't know if it was Felipe Anderson. It would have probably been Felipe Anderson on that side. You can't leave a danger man like him on his own, And it was to his credit, Taylor did come back and defend, but he shouldn't be that open to begin with. He's got to stay disciplined in that left back role. He's not playing under Ange Postecoglou anymore, where he's playing inverted all the time. He's going to have to be a traditional fullback as well. I've got no doubt he can bounce back, especially domestically. But I just think going forward in Europe, Celtic need a better option.
Yeah. Danny comes back in and says, fair play, 20 year off the drink and you've still got decent pat. I laugh out loud. Cheers, Dan. Hope the result hasn't dampened your enthusiasm and spirits tonight. But yeah, it's a hard one to take. But thanks for that. Appreciate it. Always appreciate all the commenters. 306 people, Ryan, joining us live.
Incredible for 25 past 11. Incredible, guys. Thank you so much.
Exactly. And just all sorts of comments coming in, so I'm trying to flick up as many as we can. But I think it's just an overall feeling of disappointment, isn't it, Ryan?
It's an eye roll, unfortunately for me.
Yeah, disappointing with a draw, but to take nothing from it, he certainly didn't expect that in the closing stages. He did think that they were going to go and win it, but yeah. Jerry Smith making a point saying, UEFA gives Celtic the small-time referees to look after the so-called big guns. Not sure about that. Mark McQueen saying, talk about Hatate get a punch to the face that wasn't even looked at. Yep, spoke about it, Mark. John Hartson said it was a punch to the face. He genuinely went like that and fended them off pretty, strongly.
I'll need to see that back because we only see it once.
You'll be disappointed when you see it back. Bitterly disappointed. You'll be screaming for a red card. John Hartson said that's a punch. That was his initial reaction. Neil Lennon and Stilian Petrov said that VAR should have looked at it. Didn't even look at it. Didn't even check it. So that's
it'll be even worse because VAR would have checked it, but didn't choose to intervene because they check absolutely every incident that happens on the park. That's a bigger indictment. If that is the case, I've still to see it back. I'll form my own opinion before making claims or anything like that of bad refereeing decisions. But I will take your word for it that if there's a unified stance from pundits and you as well, talking that it was a bad decision from the referee or a lack of decision from the referee, then that's a really poor display, and it's not a good look on UEFA as well in the Premier competition. All eyes are on this game among others in the Champions League. You've got to get these decisions right. You get VAR there to assist the referees, and if they don't see decisions like that or challenges like that or assaults like that, whatever you want to call it, then what's the point of having the technology if you're not going to use it and implement it?
Yeah, Francis B.C. Green, see the lad clenched his hands into a fist. He did that, Ryan, and he's caught him full in the face. I mean, unbelievable why they, Lagerbielke get sent off for the same kind of motion in Rotterdam for a second bookable offence. But
did they get booked? Did the guy get booked?
you never get booked. Nothing happened. No action taken. So I just staggering decision. You'll be apoplectic when you see it. 'Cause it looks to me as if it's a definite red card. But hey, and he had
Not asking for preferential treatment. I'm just asking for the
it's just
game
for
and the rules
fairness.
to be
Yeah,
applied.
fairness. Yeah. Baz Rio's got a black eye from that, and his eye was really bloodshot. Yeah, because the camera panned in on him because he had the red gum shield on, and his eye was kind of half shut. It looked as if he'd been caught by a flailing punch from a boxer. Just astonishing decision. I don't like calling for players to be sent off, but rules are rules, Ryan. And Celtic have fell foul of them with Lagerbielke in the first game, second bookable offence by the arm across, penalty given, and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, and Blake Owen comes in and says there was no booking for the centre back that threw Kyogo about either. Yeah, that was the one on the halfway line, and he just grabbed Kyogo and threw him to the floor, basically.
There was that, and then there was the break at
bizarre
half
decisions.
time, and then Nat Phillips
Yeah.
get booked. That was a very weird decision.
Yeah, there was some.
But this is unfortunately when you come out with these things, it always looks and we want it to be that way. Yeah. It's not sour grapes or anything. It's just you want the rules to be applied.
Yeah, it does smack of sour grapes, but just some very strange and bizarre decisions. Brendan Rodgers kind of said it as well, that he found that there was some strange decisions because he watched the Champions League football last night and then tonight, and he said in European football it's a bit more precious, so he was kind of, I think he didn't want to say too much, but I think he's I don't say a body language expert, but I think that what wasn't said probably was more than what he probably wanted to say a lot more, but knows, but it was the kind of what wasn't said strikes me as being he'll be in that dressing room, or he might even be asking the referee himself in the room, demanding a few answers. Jerry Smith saying the ref was shocking. Yeah, I just kind of, when you start going down that road, you are kind of, it does smack of sour grapes, but there were a few decisions that went against Celtic tonight that, but as what it is. Francis PC Green, with Celtic, they can take it in the chin and they grow. Yes, it made them angry. So, yeah. And Blake Owen saying Lazio player's throwing himself about, was quite frustrating. Glad the player get booked for diving. Yeah, that was near the end where he's trying to con the ref for a penalty, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that brought a bit of hilarity from the crowd because he basically played himself into a booking with that. Just a couple of really annoying decisions. I think there's a couple of annoying decisions from the Celtic players as well. I know it's in a couple of games now I've noticed it, but Luis Palma does go down a wee bit too easily for my liking in games.
I noticed that in the first game at Rotterdam. I thought he went down very, very easily. I mentioned it. I thought, try and take the man on.
You're a talented player. You can dribble with the ball. Why go down and try and stop playing, stop momentum? Just try and get on with the game. It's something that can be coached out of his game. It's not like it's anything technical or that. It's just a mental decision that can be coached out of his game. I'm sure he'll learn. He'll learn the rough and tumble of Scottish football and European football. I know he's been playing in Greece, but it's a different level here. So yeah, he'll learn from that. But very disappointed for him too, because it was such an iconic goal, iconic celebration. He took the shirt off. The only thing he's got from that goal is a yellow card because he's taken his shirt off. They don't rescind the yellow card. It's still a taken off of the shirt, despite scoring the goal. At least they're consistent in that.
Yeah, I've dear, I flicked up a comment and I think I've banned somebody by mistake, so I didn't mean to do that. These things happen. The comments go really fast. It's Francis PC Green. So Francis, I'm sorry, I've hit the wrong button there as well. Disaster. There you go. Didn't mean
mistakes
to do that.
Mistakes in Europe, Tony. Mistakes in Europe, Tony.
It's
affecting us all.
It's because it's getting late, isn't it?
It couldn't be worse than mine's today with the team lines, or the one in the morning briefing.
Yeah, putting the Rangers team line up for the Celtic 11.
That was a redacted comment.
So Francis PC Green, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to ban yourself. The comment went up very quickly, so hopefully you'll come back in and join us. Can they come back in and join us, Ryan? Is that what happens in that situation? I'm not too.
I think they can still watch the video, but they can't comment. I'll undo that once I get in the house.
Yeah, it's Graham Martin coming in claiming to be teetotal, Tony. You've no idea how quick these comments come in, Graham, and it's they just flash up like that down the side. So sometimes your eyes are averted that to the side. But yeah, note to self: be a bit more vigilant. But yeah. Young man, that's 41 minutes, over 300 people, 325 people joining us in the pod. It's amazing, and we're enjoying the comments coming in. Another disappointing night for Celtic, Ryan, eh? Celtic 1, Lazio 2. No points from 2 matches in Group E already, and we've just stressed the importance of winning our home games. But to take nothing from that was the ultimate kick in the solar plexus, was it not?
Yeah, absolutely. The team have just got to dust themselves down and look forward to the game on Saturday, put things right once again. Disappointing result. I think a lot of people, this will be a sore one for the next couple of days. But it's nothing that they can't fix, especially in domestic action on Saturday. So we look ahead, we look forward, positive signs, but it's the same old in Europe, unfortunately, for Celtic.
Yeah. Les D first to come in with free Francis Green. I'm with you on that, Les D. It was just to err is human. And that's my Carmen and Catler Vickers moment for the evening, I think, Ryan, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
As you say, it affects us all. Guys, I'm going to let Ryan go because it's 25 to 12 and we've been on air for just short of a half of football, 42 minutes coming up for, but we'll certainly be back tomorrow and we'll maybe sleep on it and dissect it and see if we can find any positive or any solace in it. At the minute, it's still a bit raw, it's still a bit sore, it's still, you never like seeing your team getting beat, but to get beat in that manner is always a gut wrencher. Heartache, call it what you like, disappointment, but yeah, it is what it is, isn't it?
And you wouldn't want to be anywhere else, Celtic Park.
Yeah,
and
of course you still want to be in the Champions League.
You've got to be in it to win it, but you want to put up a better fight as well, right until the end. It's just very, very disappointing. But we move on. As Ange Postecoglou said in his first season, we never stop. Celtic never stops as well, and we'll still endeavour to bring you all the top quality content on the Celtic way, win, lose or draw.
Indeed, and if there's the strap line at the bottom, guys. You can help us if we try and provide top quality journalism covering the club you love. You subscribe to the Celtic Way website. Also subscribe to the YouTube website. They get the videos and the podcasts for free, but that helps us. If you subscribe to the actual website, then it helps us provide those videos on a daily basis, and that's at www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. That's www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Thank you for your company. Ryan, thank you so much. Get yourself home, sir. And we'll see you tomorrow, 10ish, something like that, isn't it, Ryan, usually?
Yeah. 10 o'clock. We'll be there. We'll be there. Well, there we're always there.
Mark McQueen, going for a greet.
No.
Edward,
I feel better about it already because we've been speaking about it for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
My head feels a bit better. I was a bit annoyed at the end of the game. It was a bit that eye roll moment, but I'm feeling a wee bit better now talking about it.
Edward Driver saying Francis PC Green is digging a tunnel as we speak. He is indeed. Francis, come back on tomorrow. You'll be more than welcome. Dear oh dear. Fast fingers and all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? But hey, it is what it is. It's live broadcasting. These are the things that happen. But there you go. Guys, thank you for your company. Really appreciate it. It's always result dependent, isn't it? I always say that in your mood. But hey, we'll discuss it all again tomorrow, see if we can paint a brighter picture. Ryan, thank you so much for your contribution. I appreciate it and your efforts today. All right, take care, buddy. All right, and everybody, take care. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Thanks very much, guys. Cheers.